So guys, the exhaust is installed, the new valve for the fuel is installed, and the only thing that remains to be installed for the engine is the carburetor. So I'm gonna install that as well. I've installed a new line for the breather for the fuel tank, and I'm gonna install this as well. And I have to disassemble that cover again because I have problem with the starter, the Kickstarter, and I'm gonna see what is going on there because when I kick to start the engine, the lever for the starter remains in the lower position, it doesn't return, and we are going to investigate what is going on. So let's mount this thing and see what is going to happen with that. So this would have been the perfect moment to pour some petrol in the tank and kick and start it, but instead I have to double check my work because this is what happens. As you can see, the starter lever doesn't move the way it's supposed to. And I don't know why is that, and I'm gonna disassemble this panel again and see what is going on inside. I don't get it. When I relieve the pressure, everything seems to be working, but once I tighten the panel, I get it now. There was this carton board gasket type, and apparently now when there is nothing, it is only this cylinder, the distance is way too small, and this becomes way too tight and it can't work properly. So I'm gonna have to make a gasket for this thing to be working again, or I'm gonna have to peel some of something in the inside, but I prefer to make a gasket for this thing and get rid of this annoying problem. So I'm gonna disassemble it and start preparing that. But before I jump into that, I'm thinking I'm gonna pour some fuel in the fuel tank and I'm gonna give it a kick since it works like that, and I'm gonna see if the bike is gonna start, how it's gonna run, and eventually afterwards I'm gonna deal with this thing. I'm way too curious to find out, so I'm gonna leave it like that for a bit and let's see if this bike is gonna start at all. There is some fuel getting into the carburetor, which is a good sign. Overall, I'm going to consider this to be a successful first run. It is obvious that when the bike reaches the higher RPMs, probably there is not enough fuel. That jet, it is probably small for this engine, as we've guessed from the previous experience with green bike. So I'm gonna address that a little bit later. For now, I'm gonna continue disassembling this panel and I'm gonna make a gasket. So I'm very excited to see how this is gonna perform now, since I know that it starts and it runs. And let's continue. So as soon as I can assemble it, I can test it even sooner. So let's get back to it. I just mounted the covers of the engine over the engine, and my brother came and surprised me with a new pick of three different jets, whatever, for the carburetor. So I'm going to quickly take it off, and I'm going to try to tune this engine as I did with this carburetor, as I did with the carburetor on the green one, and probably gonna remove that carburetor as well and add one of these as an upgrade, because as you remember that was lacking a bit of power in the high revs. And in addition to that, as a surprise, my brother also bought a battery for one of them, and since the wiring on this one is not done, I had some work on it because everything was disconnected, and we had to redo that. I'm gonna install this on the green one because it has everything and it is ready to accommodate this and work as it is supposed to be. So we're gonna be mounting this as well, and hopefully I'm gonna finish them. As it turns out, when I did the gasket, it crossed my mind that I'm making that gasket way too thick. This is the material that I had. It's not the material that is supposed to be used for this thing, but I had no choice. And now when I kicked, just to see if everything is okay, it slipped. The mechanism that it engages the crankshaft has to sit on predetermined distance from the teeth that it has, and in my case, when I get this closer or add a bit of distance, it changes the specification that this thing is supposed to work, and it's not it's not okay. So I'm gonna have to make another gasket to fix this problem, but it doesn't affect it all the time, and I'm gonna leave it just like this for now to have a proper test. And anyway, so let's get back to the carburetors and eventually the battery. Once again, I have to redo the thread because it is way too small. I'm gonna try to go from 65 to 80 and see what is gonna happen. Actually, on this one I'm gonna do 85. Let's test it and see how it's gonna perform, and eventually replace the other carburetor as well. Well guys, this is everything that I'm gonna do for this bike, at least for now. It has this, the covers mounted and the seat, so now I can test it and just to give you a complete look of this scooter. There is still lots of things that can be done about this, especially in regards of the look of this scooter. But the thing is that I'm gonna drive this on dirt roads, and I'm gonna just have some fun with it, and I don't want to be concerned about the look and the paint and stuff like that. Probably I'm gonna address this issue later on, but for now this is gonna be all. I'm gonna try and start it again just to see is it still working. One moment, probably needs some throttle. I've adjusted the rear brake, so now it has front and rear brake. It is funny because when I bought this thing, as I mentioned, I added this universal brake over here and adjusted the brakes because this scooter had only front brake, while this one had only rear brake, and now they're both operational on this bike, and they are both operational on this bike. This even has the gauge for the speedometer working, so this is gonna be fun to see how fast this can go if I find where to drive it. And this is fully assembled as well, so the only thing that I'm gonna do before I give them a run is I'm gonna mount this battery on the green bike. So I'm curious how it's gonna perform with the battery. Is it gonna be more fun to start it with the starter motor with the push of a button? So let's do that now.